In the Boys series, we meet Kessler, a former comrade-in-arms of William Butcher, who fought alongside him in the Panjshir Valley. While the series narrates that Butcher saved Kessler's life from the comics, we know this isn't possible. It's true that Butcher was part of the British Armed Forces, but his time there was neither glorious nor honorable. His only significant involvement was in the Falklands War against the Argentinians. There, William Butcher's rage and impulsive nature led to the doom of all his comrades. Due to a traumatic childhood under his father's tyranny, Billy's personality drove him to make the reckless decision of a frontal assault against Argentine trenches. Despite the opposition forces lacking proper equipment, this imprudent action by the Butcher resulted in his 16 comrades meeting their maker that same night. After the skirmish, William awaited his death, but was miraculously rescued. While the series changes the Falklands War to the war in Afghanistan, the underlying message remains the same. Anyone who follows William Butcher's insatiable impulses for vengeance and hatred ends up dead. Based on the comic, it's clear and evident that Kessler is a hallucination of Butcher, one of the many collateral damages caused by the character, now manifesting due to his brain tumor. In the comics, we also encounter a character named Kessler, who isn't much different from the Soupies. This character embodies the same immorality that Butcher denounces in the Junkies of Compound V. Kessler's identity represents everything Butcher is not. Kessler is a weak man, easily controlled by his impulses, with his only aspiration being to satisfy his basest instincts. Unfortunately for many, Kessler is the primary assistant to Susan L. Rayner, who happens to be the director of the CIA and consequently the boss of the boys. In the original material, Kessler's role is to act as a bridge between Susan's directives and the boys' actions. Kessler's job is to keep Susan Rayner informed about the group's activities, a role of vital importance because the boys are an agency under CIA control. They can't execute any mission without Susan's approval. Kessler perfectly represents the depravity and decadence of the upper echelons of power. He lacks dignity and virtue, basing his life on strange fetishes. This is why he earned the nickname Kessler the Monkey. After Greg Mallory retires from the group, Susan, fearful of Butcher's volatility, incorporates Kessler into the team to try to maintain some control over them. On one occasion, during a visit to a peculiar doctor's establishment, Kessler was abused by the monkeys residing there. Butcher found this so amusing that he began calling him Kessler the Monkey, and the relationship between these two characters is far from a genuine friendship. Butcher hates Kessler almost as much as he hates the soups he hunts. Kessler first appears in the debut issue of the comic, where we witness his significant intelligence work in the CIA offices. Upon hearing that Butcher is in his office, Kessler tries to escape through the window. Ultimately, he encounters his dear friend there, where Butcher makes it clear that he is under Butcher's orders. The boys are back, and they need Kessler to provide privileged information from the CIA. Through Kessler's computer, Butcher sees how the Supes are out of control, with their disregard for life leading to the incineration of entire villages in Colombia and the killing of American citizens on U.S. soil. This is where Butcher discovers the tragic case of Robin, a woman who lost her life while walking in the park with her beloved boyfriend. So we can say that thanks to Kessler, Huey receives the offer to join the boys. Additionally, in the series, this character has the brilliant idea of removing Victoria Newman's boyfriend's leg to fake his death. This is no coincidence, as in the original material, the character has a fixation on people who have lost mobility in their lower body. Kessler seizes any free moment in his schedule to enjoy the sports activities these people participate in. However, Butcher is aware of Kessler's true intentions behind his interest in these events. The Butcher often uses this knowledge to coerce and manipulate Kessler. Kessler the Monkey is so simian that he can't even control himself during work hours. When he sees a person in this condition, he loses his mind and begins to harass them. For instance, when Susan tries to be faithful to her husband, she uses Kessler's company to keep things under control during her encounters with Butcher. However, it only takes a small distraction for the monkey to abandon the only mission that justifies his salary. Whether by force or his passion for disabled women in the comics, Kessler is nothing more than a weak man, a pet easily tamed by the Butcher. Until one day, Susan Rayner decides to start her political career, and the monkey is promoted to CIA director as a result. Kessler is one of those public officials who will endure humiliation for promotions. Once he becomes director, Kessler quickly reveals his true nature, using his power to fulfill his darkest perversions. The first thing he does is notify the boys that they are now under his command and that he won't allow them to operate freely. As revenge for Butcher's past humiliations, he plans to make Butcher spend his days completing paperwork and filling out forms. Not because he's pro-soup, but to show he has real power over the group. Kessler is so despicable that he celebrates his promotion to CIA director by trying to take advantage of Nicky Brand, an Olympic gold medalist for the USA. As the main figure of power in the CIA, he uses the White House ceremony to attempt a vile assault on the champion. He takes advantage of the late hours to harass her in her room, presenting himself as Director Kessler, a very important man, before starting his assault. Despite the government's titles, the monkey remains a weak and pathetic man. Nicky Brand has no trouble putting him in his place, needing only 3 punches to return the monkey to the reality he deserves. Butcher intervenes with his CIA badge, and the Olympic champion leaves with an unpleasant memory but no further harm. Billy Butcher takes the opportunity to give Kessler some perspective. William explains why it's wrong to abuse one's position of power. With Kessler tied to a bed and unable to resist, Butcher has the chance to have an assertive dialogue with his boss while using one of the tools the director intended to use on Nicky Brand. Thanks to this action, Director Kessler agrees to stop harassing the boys with tedious forms and budgets. Unfortunately for him, the Butcher in the comics is incredibly ruthless. Dissatisfied with the situation, he enlists his pet to ensure the pretentious director understands his place. You can question the methods, but not the results. After this experience, Kessler aligned his loyalty with the group for the rest of his days. Even after Butcher's death, the monkey had no qualms about fulfilling Huey's wishes and betraying Susan. Kessler took advantage of one of Susan's political meetings to make public the scandalous recordings of her with Butcher. This exposure brought an end to her political career. As the predatory theory of the state explains, Kessler destroyed the public image of the leader who gave him life to secure his position as CIA director. This is how his story ends in the comic, far from being a figment of Butcher's imagination. The logic behind naming Gene D. Morgan's character Kessler is the same because if we think about it, the values of the monkey Kessler are the exact opposite of William Butcher's essence. Kessler is a weak man controlled by his impulses, while Billy is a man whose determination and strength have no limits. So following this logic, I believe that the Kessler in the series represents everything that Butcher is not. This character is obsessed with wiping out the soups with a powerful virus, something William is unsure about. This version has a genuine affection for Ryan, Kimiko, and Starlight, whereas in past seasons he had no problem relating to Queen Maeve and has always expressed a certain respect for Homelander. In summary, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character represents everything that Butcher is not but can become if he can't escape his hate and desire for vengeance. Just as in the comics, Kessler the monkey represents a figure whose essence is entirely contrary to the Butcher's. This is why both characters are named Kessler. Despite the different stories, the metaphor behind the narrative is the same, especially if we see this Kessler eventually consuming all of William's personality. As they say, we often become what we hate, especially because, according to my theories, the final villain of the series can only be William Butcher. But that's a topic for another video. If you made it this far, don't forget to let me know with a like. See you very soon. Bye!